All right, what's up, y'all? Will here with Schedule Fly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedule Fly. Super simple, web-based restaurant and employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and all at a low price point. We are bootstrapped. We bootstrapped this business in 2007 for 18 years. We've never raised our prices. We don't have to worry about the VC bros and the private equity folks. So we keep everything simple around here. Great software, great service, low price point. If you're on pencil and paper or Excel, this is an easy decision. Make life easier for everybody from the owner to the manager to the teammates who really like their schedule on an app on their phones all the time. Um, if you're on another scheduling software, you might be really happy and that's cool and stick with it. You might also be paying a lot of money for something and you don't use all those tools and all those features, or you may just be an overcharge. So hit schedulefly.com, check out our price points, call my cell phone number. It's right there on the website on like 3 pages. You can always run a 30-day free trial. We will hook you up, take care of you, and life will be a little easier. Maybe you'll save some money. All right, that's Schedulefly. What we're really here for is Restaurant Owners Uncorked, and this is episode 600 and something. And this is my new friend, Anesh. We just started talking. In fact, we were having such a good conversation. I was like, dude, we got to stop and open this thing so we can continue this conversation recorded. So, Anesh, thank you for joining. Just introduce yourself real quick.
So my name's Anesh Bodasing. I'm the founder of Tiffin Box. We are a fast casual Indian concept. So basically think Chipotle serving Indian food. Opened in 2019, a few months before the pandemic. And we used that store in West Palm Beach as a pilot store really to figure out, what people want as far as fast casual Indian food. And it's really, it's a new growing segment that is out there. There's probably, I know of 15 to 20, across the country, the fast casual, Indian concepts. We had that store up until the summer of 24. And at that point, I kind of made a strategic decision. It wasn't an A location. It wasn't the location we weren't reaching the potential of what we were at that location. So we decided to close that store and make a complete pivot and go towards college towns. So we recently opened in Tallahassee, FSU and FAMU. And then in a couple of months, we're going to be opening up in Gainesville, UF. Both locations are on the bottom floor of student housing buildings, right in the core of where the kids are all living. It's within a 3-block radius, there's 4,000 or 5,000 kids living. So it's a pretty dense, very foot traffic oriented locations. And from here, we're hoping to grow it and see where the path leads. And hopefully down the road, we're going to be franchising the business and growing and taking it from there.
I love this. All right. Well, if you've listened to these episodes, we just kind of roll, but I do ask everybody. The only question I ask every person that comes on here is, how and when did you get started in hospitality?
Well, Will, I'll be honest with you. There was that exact aha defining moment for me. We'll get into my travels and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure, later on. So let's just skip to the aha moment. I'm in Cape Town, South Africa. This is in 97. And, I'm a young kid. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but, it had to be people oriented because I'm a people guy. I like to talk to people and stuff like that. And I'm walking and there's this, it's like a mall on the water. It's called the Waterfront. So it's full of retail bars, restaurants, that kind of thing. And I'm walking along and I look at this huge banner on the side of a building. This is like a 100-foot by 300-foot banner. It's a huge banner on the side of a building. It's a couple Elvis impersonators sitting in the back of a convertible Cadillac, right? And all it says is the tagline says, 1 for the money, 2 for the show. That's why you'll want to work for us. And it was advertising for the Hard Rock Café. They were opening
Nice.
at the time. It was the largest Hard Rock in the world they were building. And I looked at that sign and I said, hell yeah, I can do that. I want to be a part of that. So I immediately went over to where they were hiring. And at that time, they pretty much closed the hiring process. And they had hired, oh my God, it was like 400 or 500 people they'd hired. It's your
Right. Yeah.
typical
Place is
overflow,
massive.
right?
Sure.
And I get interviewed by he was one of the district managers from operations manager from Europe had come down because this was a big thing for the Hard Rock. So they brought team from around the world. And he looks at my application and he says to me, he says, listen, you've never worked in the restaurant business. And I said, no, you're right. You're 100% right. I said, but you know what? I said, the restaurant business is dealing with people. I said, and I may not have ever been in the restaurant business, but I've been in the people business, since I've been like 12, 13 years old. I said, I'll tell you what, you give me a shot. And in like 60 days after this restaurant opens, if I'm not one of your best servers here, I'll leave. I said, no problem. No hard
I love
feelings.
that, man.
So the guy looked
That
at
is
me and
awesome.
he said, you know what? He goes, I love your attitude. He goes, I'm going to give
I
you a
bet
shot.
he did. I
Yeah.
love that attitude. That's
And that was it.
awesome, man.
That was my foot into the restaurant business. And other than I had like a 6-year hiatus, I'd gotten divorced and I wanted to my kids were young and I wanted to take a step back to be a better dad than grow my career.
Yeah.
Other than that little 6-year gap, I've been in it almost 30 years now.
Dude, I got to tell you, I've literally done, 600 plus episodes and other ones for some books. And I mean, I've probably had almost, I don't know, close to 1,000 conversations with restaurant owners over the last 18 years. Dude, that's one of my top 5 favorite origin stories, man. I love that because I love the confidence and the moxie to be like, I got this, man. Like, but I'll prove I'll prove it to you. Like so
Yeah.
many people just, I don't know, man. I love that. That's a cool story, man. And you knew, and that was that aha moment. I love that, man.
Yeah. Little did I know, how where the journey was going to take me,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
taken me through, its ups and downs and everything. But, I will say that over all the years that the restaurant business has been very good to me and my family. I've been able to, provide and have a life and, raise their kids and all that kind of stuff. But it's a huge difference between being, an employee versus an employer. I learned that lesson, and it's undescribable, the difference.
yep,
It's a no matter like the size, like every restaurateur is going to tell you we're all going to have the same story, which is the first restaurant was blood, sweat, tears, maxed out credit cards. We were
yep,
taking a huge risk.
yep.
There was something up with how the lease was was put together and all that kind of stuff. And there's going to be sometimes 50% mistakes and 50% right decisions, and it's a balancing act to figure out. You just want more good decisions than bad decisions in a nutshell. At the end of the day.
Yeah, man. Well, it was the one in 2019 down there in South Florida, your first one that you
That
owned?
was my first. Yeah. So to
Okay.
rewind a little bit, I'll give you a quick little background about myself, how I ended up there and all that. So I'm born and raised Canadian.
Okay.
My family is my parents were both born and raised in South Africa.
Okay.
So I'm Indian, and the largest population of Indians outside of India happens to be in South Africa. So
Really?
yeah, so our family just recently celebrated our 150th anniversary in South Africa. There's a massive population of Indians from South Africa, and so I think one of the best things my parents ever did was leaving South Africa and going to Canada because at the end of the day I grew up with a better life, and I travel back. I lived in South Africa and all that kind of stuff, and whenever I go back, I'm always appreciative that my parents left there and for better opportunities, obviously. So anyways, I'm born and raised in Canada, sorry, and my father was in the car business. My mother it was in hospitality. Both my parents are entrepreneurial. And so I grew up in the car business. That was my gig. Fast forward, I'm graduating high school at this point now. I'm, you know, almost running my father's business. I'm a 19-year-old kid hanging out with 40-year-old men in the car business, and it's not my gig. So I made a trip to South Africa. My parents used to go almost yearly, to visit family and stuff. So my brother and I never went because of apartheid. We just didn't want to go.
Yeah.
So 94, I decide, apartheid's over, Mandela's taken over, and all that kind of stuff. So we go. Fell in love with it. We landed in Cape Town. If anyone is ever going to South Africa, I highly recommend going to South Africa. It'll be one of the best vacations you'll ever have. The currency is extremely in your favor, 18 to 20 to 1, per dollar. Take my advice. Only go to Cape Town and you will have the greatest vacation ever. You can do everything from there. It's beautiful. So we land in Cape Town. We end up traveling the majority of South Africa that trip. I was there for 6 weeks and met all kinds of family, everything. I come back, my parents are still there. And then they come back about 3 weeks later. And when they arrived back, I sat them down and I said, good news. I've decided I'm going to go live in South Africa. And my dad was like, oh my God, well, what are we going to do with the car business? And I was like, that's going to be on you. I said, that's your problem. I said, it's not, that's your business. It's not mine.
Yeah.
So fast forward, they end up deciding that it works out for them as well. We keep the house in Canada. They're like, okay, we'll come stay with you for 6 months, and 6 months in Canada, and so on, And they did that cycle once, and on the second time round, my father ended up passing away in South Africa. He had a heart attack. And that was the end of that. So my mom decided she's staying in South Africa. We, sell everything in Canada and move on. And then that's when I started getting it. Right around there is when I was getting into the Hard Rock. So I stayed with the Hard Rock for a couple of years. And then I decided, I want to leave. I still want to travel. And South Africa, so Europe is here, South Africa is here, North America is here. It's so hard to travel from South Africa, and the currency is worth nothing. So the problem is the currency is working against you wherever you go. So I had an opportunity to grow with the Hard Rock, and I was offered a job in the Middle East, and I spoke to the franchisee there. It's one sheik that has every franchise imaginable there. So I speak to his guy, and the guy offers me the job. And then he says to me, hey, listen, are you coming by yourself, or are you coming, do you have a girlfriend or wife or something? So I was dating what was going to turn out to be my first wife at the time. And I told him, and he said, listen, I'm telling you right now, she's not going to like it here. He says, because unfortunately, she's going to be like a second-grade citizen, and
yeah, right.
It's not going to mix. He goes, you may want to talk it over with her. I talked it over with her, and that was it. That was poo-pooed. So I ended up going to South Florida. I ended up getting a job, local chain down there that was in its infancy stages, and the connection was the GM from the Hard Rock left Cape Town. He just had like a 3-year contract. Went back to South Florida. He ends up getting me the job. I come down there. I'm there for about a year. I went with my girlfriend, and then out of the blue, we decide that we are going to go to the UK. We had an opportunity to get a 2-year work visa. We had to get it before before you were 25, and this was like late in the year. My birthday's in February, so I was like, look, it's now or never. We got to do it. So in the span of like 30 days, we went from, hey, that might not be a bad idea, to we're packing our bags and we're leaving. I end up, again, it's all connections, man. The AGM from the Hard Rock in Cape Town went to open the Edinburgh Hard Rock, and then he left there, and he was a director of operations for a small restaurant group in the UK. Kept in contact with him. He offered me the job over the phone. I land on Friday. Monday, I'm at work. So end up staying in London for 2 years. It
Great
was
food.
amazing. Amazing. We loved it. We actually ended up getting married in London. Um, I worked at a fine dining, real foo place in Notting Hill. It was everything you thought it was. This was during when Beckham and Posh were just starting to date, and it was a big thing. And they
Yeah.
came in, a couple times for brunch. It was insane. This was like a fine dining, you know, swanky place, like where after dinner we would come, they would come by with cigar service, and light the
Yeah.
cigar while you're sitting at the table. It was nuts. Learned a lot, I'll be honest with you. The skills and the things I learned from that restaurant, working there for a year, I have kept with me and I will keep with me for the rest of my life. During that time, I was getting tired of the fine dining, suit and tie kind of thing. So I started looking for something else. So I ended up getting a job. It was my first GM job. As It was for a restaurant called Sticky Fingers. It was
Oh
owned by
yeah.
Bill Wyman, the original bass player for the Stones. No, no, no. So it's a different one. The Sticky
Okay,
Fingers
gotcha.
in
Oh,
London.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So met a, you know met a lot of celebrities and everything. And listen, at the time, my wife and I were living it up. We had a tiny little apartment on High Street, Kensington, and we were eating out 6 nights a week, and it was great. My 2-year permits came up, so we decided, okay, we're going back to South Africa, and at this point, we were going to go and settle in Canada. That was our plan. Um, so last minute, I get a call from my previous boss in Florida. He offers me a job, but there was a sub concept that he was working on and growing and whatever else. So he
Yeah.
tells me, listen, come on over, blah, 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 blah. So we go for it. I'm like, okay, this is our last trip. This is it. And then we're going to settle down. We end up going there. It turns out to be a bust. We're kind of stuck in Florida. And I'm sorry, you lost me, right?
Yeah, you just disappeared.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm back. So it is. So we were stuck in the U.S. because we had started the immigration process, and unfortunately, because we started it outside of the country, she couldn't get into the country. So long story short, here we are. It's one of those defining moments in your life, and it really was at the time. We didn't know what to do. I couldn't go back to work for this sub place because it wasn't the fit, and it wasn't right. Um, the only option we had was we had to go back to South Africa, and we didn't want to do that. So I ended up making the call to the previous company that I'd worked for down south. And they had a change of the partners. A new partner had come in, and now they decided they're really going to grow. It was the right call, the right time. I was the right person. I end up getting in with them. It leads to 12 years working with that company, growing with them. We grew. I was with them from 4 stores to 24 stores. I grew a lot as well. I had the opportunity to be, director of operations and, obviously regional manager and all that kind of stuff. And that was great. During that time, um, I ended up getting divorced. So that's when I took a step back and said, listen, my kids are young. I got to, I want to do something different. So I thought, there's only two things I know: restaurants and cars. So the car business is less hours, more controlled, and that kind of thing. So I did that. I worked for a fantastic family. They have a wonderful business in West Palm Beach, and I worked for them for 6 years. Now, here's where Tiffin Box all aligns into this. I started thinking about Tiffin Box 12 years before we opened. So we opened 2009. Rewind 12 years. That's when I started thinking about, you know what? I want to do my own thing. I had the name. It was going to be Tiffin Box no matter what. It was going to be Indian. I didn't know whether it was going to be fast casual, swanky fine dining. I didn't know that part, but it started evolving over the 12 years. And I started, I still have like these papers that I used to have stuck on the wall with menu ideas and menu names and stuff. And it basically evolved into, you know, close to what we are now, as the process. And the biggest thing was over those 12 years, Will, I knew people had opinions about Indian food. So if I ask you, you know, um, Will, have you had sushi? right? It's kind of a yes or no answer. Yeah, I've had it. I like it. It's great. I get it at Publix every Wednesday, $5, sushi. Or it's no, I've never tried it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that.
That's right.
Okay,
Yep.
so I spoke to literally thousands of people over those 12 years. I would bump into anyone. I'd bump into somebody in the elevator. I would just turn to them and go, hey, let me ask you a question. Have you ever had Indian food? And what I discovered was, number one, if they had had Indian food, it was usually by fluke. And the two biggest reasons was I went to school and one of my roommates was Indian and his mom used to send food. Or I went to their house, for a weekend or something. Or
Okay.
it was the boss took everyone out to a Indian buffet once and that was it. Did you like it? Yeah, it was really good. Have you gone back since? No, I haven't. Why haven't you gone back? I don't know. Like I don't really know where Indian restaurants are. I don't know what to order. They didn't feel comfortable. Now,
Uh-huh.
if they'd never had Indian food, then this was the weird part. What I realized is they would say, no, I've never had Indian food. Instead of just leaving it there, they want to go on to tell you why they won't have Indian food. Oh, I've never had Indian food. It's oily. It's really spicy. I'm going to get an upset stomach.
Okay.
I don't like the smell. And to be honest with you, as an Indian person, they're 100% right on all of those items. If they're having, crappy Indian food, yes, all of those descriptions are correct. So my next question to everyone, whether they said yes or no, I asked them, I said, let me ask you a question. Would you go to like a Chipotle serving Indian food? And then they would look at me and like 99% of the time they would say, where is it? And then if I was with my kids or my wife, I would just like elbow them saying,
Yeah.
it's out there.
Man.
It's out there. And then over time, there were the fast casual Indian market started, restaurants were popping up. Some did well, some failed. It was what it was. So I really started looking into it going, okay, I think that's the route I want to go. I think I want to go fast casual. But like what I say today, like 2025, right now, if you ask me, so my greatest strength is my greatest weakness. And our greatest strength is we are a fast casual Indian restaurant. Our greatest weakness is we are a fast casual Indian restaurant, because for as many people that'll attract, it also repels some people because of the stigmatism of Indian food. And also fast casual Indian food is a segment people aren't familiar with. Like if you say, fat, at one point my tagline was fast fresh Indian food. Listen, 95% of people, including Indians, had never seen those four words together. There was no like benchmark of it's just like it's unless you've traveled to major cities, you're not familiar with assembly line Indian food. So it's really been a learning curve, and along the way, I'm going to be the first guy to say, listen, I've effed up and I've fallen on my face a couple of times going, okay, that wasn't a good idea. So one of the ones I learned right from the start was the moment we opened, our tagline was that Tiffin Box, Americanized Indian Grill. And let me tell you, it was less than a month. I came home and I said to my wife, and by the way, so my wife has her own career. She's not in the restaurant business or anything. So I came home to my wife and I said, listen, this Americanized thing's got to go. And she's like, why? I said, because people think we're watered down, Indian food. It's not real. It's not authentic. And meanwhile, we're serving like real stuff. And the easiest way I describe Tiffin Box is this is the kind of food, if you go to someone's house, this is the kind of food you'll eat. So it's like this. If I come over to your house and you cook steaks for us, that's one version of steaks. The next day, if we go to Ruth's Chris, nobody's making steaks like that at their house, right?
Yep.
It's a commercialized, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, but it's commercialized. It's industrial,
Yep.
So That's our style. Our style is, especially like, look, if you're Indian or you're very familiar with Indian food, you'll visually come in and just look at it, and go, okay, that's legit. It's like mama going to the Italian restaurant. She'll just look at that meatball and go, that meatball's dry, because mama knows meatballs, right? So it's the same kind of thing. So that was mistake number one. That was a glaring one. And I was like, okay, immediately I have to scrub that from everything, from every online sign, everywhere. Got to get rid of that word Americanized. I'm like, we're not that. We're fast, fresh Indian food. I can't make it any simpler than that.
Yep.
But look, we've had our highs and lows for sure. And the highs are high, the lows are fast and quick. And I think, if you're as an entrepreneur, forget about being a restaurant person. If you're not willing to, one, accept criticism, and two, be able to pivot on a dime.
Yep.
Like, listen, we made a mistake. This isn't right. We're gonna change it. We're gonna cancel that. We're actually going to go with the idea that we didn't think is the right one, but we're going to go with that one because this one has proven wrong, rather than just sticking to your guns and sinking your feet in the sand going, nope, I'm going to reteach people. No, you can't, man. You got to make it simple. You got to make it simple for people.
Yeah, dude, you nailed it. I mean, you're right. It's not just it's any entrepreneurial business. Early on, especially, you've got to be real, be realistic, be humble, check your ego, pivot, iterate. You're just chipping away at what doesn't work until you get to what does work.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that don't work that certainly seem like they should, but boy, they. I can promise you, I've lived that 100 times. So I'm with you. So let's go back. So when you started, you realized after a month that Americanized Indian Grill was not going to work. But tell me about the process of getting this place. I mean, this is a big leap, dude. Like, you had been, as you said, you'd been an employee, working in this industry and working in the car, but like, it's a big leap to go, okay, now I think I got this. I want to.
It's amazing, right? I think most restaurant people they have the strength of operations, or they have the strength of, the business side of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you walk into a restaurant, you can generally tell who the people who have the operations down. Listen, at the end of the day, restaurant people are restaurant people. And I went through a time where I literally, when I would go out, I couldn't turn that switch off. I'd be looking around and, I'm with my friends, or I'm with family or my wife or whatever. And I'm looking around going, okay, it looks like they're short staffed. Why is it taking this long for this stuff to come? This drink isn't right. It wasn't like I was being critical, but I was seeing the flaws in the shift, and now I'm older and I turn that switch off. Now I don't care. I'm going out to have a good time and go with the flow,
Plus, you also realize how freaking hard it is to get that right.
Yes. Yeah. No, 100%. So here's what I did. And this was a really good exercise. I looked at it while I'm coming up so I knew what Tiffin Box was. I knew kind of what we were going to serve. I knew we were going to be a fast casual setup. But then I made a list in my mind and I said, okay, what are the things that I don't like about working in the restaurant business? Because I control this. I'm making every decision. So why am I going to put my foot in the fire when I don't need to? I could choose not to put my foot in the fire. Nobody's telling me to do it. So I said, okay, first off, I'm not going to work late nights. So this place is not going to be open till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Number two, we're not dealing with alcohol because there's liability, there's theft, and then there's just dealing with drunk people. Number three, we are going to have a small restaurant. Small restaurant and being fast casual equals low amounts of staff. So we're not going to have a host, a busboy, a food runner, dishwasher, a bartender, barback. I'm eliminating all that because one, that's a lot of money. Two, that's a lot of people who can call out and really cripple the shift or the business. So, and then the last thing was I after we found the first location, um, we went there on a Sunday, and we just got the keys. So my wife and I went there, and she's like, "Hey, there's quite a bit of cars here and whatever." I said, "Listen, honey, we're closed on Sundays," and she's like, "Really?" I said, let me just tell you right now, if we're not closed on Sundays, you're never going to see me. I said, because I'm going to be here, 100 hours a week, and if I can't at least turn it off for one day, I said, it's, you know, I don't want the first restaurant to kill me. I said, I want to grow this, and the 500th restaurant can kill me. I said, but not the first one. So those were the things I decided. I said, okay, if I stick to those guns, I think we're gonna be set up, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm thinking now at this point, all right, I got things down pretty good. I got the menu designed and whatever. We start the construction, and of course, listen, I'm doing a lot of things myself. Will, I did not think that these hands could build a restaurant, but lo and behold, they have. So what I discovered, the difference between, and I've been part of maybe, I don't know, half a dozen restaurant openings, from construction all the way to. But during that time when I was getting paid a salary by a company and, I'm in charge of stuff, but no one ever asked me. Nobody walked over to me and said, "Hey, Anesh, where do you want the lights to go? Like, we need to know because we're running the wire right now. What kind of light bulbs are you using? Where do you want the outlets? What kind of floor do you want? Where's the marketing for the front window? Like the sign guys here, like all these questions that I'll be honest with you, they weren't even on any of my lists. All of a sudden, the electrician turns to me one day and he's like, "Hey, listen, I got to know where do you want the lights?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Where do you want them?" I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "Well, it's your decision." And then all of a sudden I was thinking, holy fuck. And I never thought about it. And now I'm trying to walk around with the floor plan. I'm like, okay, we need it above a table and whatever it is. All these stupid little things. And those are the craziness of being the owner, and the funny part is like, look at now I've opened a couple stores and stuff. And let me tell you, you're dying to get to that opening date because until that opening date, the money is only going one way, out the door.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, listen, we gotta get this place open. And one advice I got very, very early on from one of my old bosses. He came in, walked around, he looked at the place, and he's like, listen, he goes, you might have something here. He says, but let me tell you something right now. And this is true for every business. I don't care whether you are a little tiny, catering from your garage to a multi-million-dollar company. There's two words that everyone thinks at some point, some more than others: cash flow. Everyone thinks it. So when you're doing that, when you're doing the build outs, the money's only going out and it's going out fast. It's checks here, left, right, and center, and it's like it's growing on trees. So that was an eye opener, and I would tell some of my restaurant friends during that opening, I was like, "Listen, man, you guys got no idea how this restaurant works," and they're going, "No, we were part of openings." I said, "Listen, one, you weren't in charge of every single thing, you have to answer for." I said, "But the other thing is, I said, you were never cutting the checks." I said, "Trust me, when you're making a, $9,000 check out to the sign guy or, $14,000 check to the plumber and all those kind of things," I said, it hurts. I said, because you want to get to that finish line. And
you
then
got
sometimes
everything on the line, man.
yeah,
It's
sometimes
it's a very different perspective
yeah,
when every decision you get decision fatigue, you've got all the risk, you have all the upside,
yeah,
but you've also got all the downside.
yeah,
So
yeah, no doubt.
Did you and your bride, did y'all, I mean, you mentioned like credit cards and things like that. So did you fund this yourself or did you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
First
You
one,
just,
it was. When I tell you it was blood, sweat, and tears, Will, it was blood,
yeah,
sweat.
man. Blood, sweat, and tears and high interest rates and,
Yeah,
all that. Well, let
yeah,
me
yeah.
ask you this. Why didn't you? Like, why didn't you go raise some money from friends and family? Not to say you
So
should have. I'm just curious, like,
right.
why you decided to just push all the chips in.
So here's what happened during those 12 years, like towards coming towards the end, where I was like, listen, I really think I got this.
Yeah.
I'd started looking for a place. It took me like almost 2 years to find a place because it
Yeah.
wasn't that I couldn't find a space. It was the landlords weren't interested in taking me as a tenant because
Okay.
here's the thing. I was a guy with a dream.
Right.
And to be perfectly honest with you, and this is the funny part, I could barely explain the dream to you. Like, I'm painting a picture here, but I'll be honest with you. It's a picture that I'd never seen myself.
Yeah.
Right up until the day the first store opened, I couldn't properly describe to you what we are because I didn't know what the future was going to hold. I was
Yeah.
training the staff how to deal with the customers and how the operations was working before we opened. And I told them about, 2 or 3 weeks after we were open, I said, hey, by the way, I'm just letting you know, I was making that all up. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I didn't know how we were going to serve a customer. Tiffin Box had never served a customer. Tiffin Box had never served any food. I said, I was just making this up in my mind going, look, this is how we're going to do it. And as the first couple of days we were open, I'm like, okay, change that. We're not doing it that way. We're doing it this way. Um, so during the last couple of years, to answer your question, I did try. I tried some angel investors. I I made a couple phone calls to banks to quickly discover that a bank ain't touching a restaurant. Like if they had no other choice, they'd rather just burn. you know.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
tough.
I did reach out to a couple people early on, and I was trying to raise some funds. Um, it's funny when you talk to people. Um, a lot of people are, oh my God, that's a great idea. Oh, listen, if you're looking for capital, you just let's talk and whatever. And then, you know, once presented with the information and it's time to get the
Yeah.
checkbook out, people get shy. And
They do. It's true. Very true.
and
Yep.
at the time, I wasn't looking for a huge amount of money. I was like, I think at the time I was looking for like 75 to 100 grand or something. It wasn't crazy. Um, so I couldn't do it. So what was happening was I'm still looking at places, and there was probably 4 or 5 places that I was interested in, but the landlord wasn't interested in me. And then here's my pitch to the landlord. Just like looking back at it, I totally agree with them, right? So hey, so what kind of restaurant is it? So and you got to imagine this is coming through my broker to the landlord or the landlord's representative. Hey, what kind of restaurant does your client want to open up? Oh, he's got this fast food Indian concept, and it's going to be bowls and wraps, and like it doesn't sound like any kind of pitch. I'll be honest with you. Um, there's no point of reference. You can't say, oh, he's going to open it. It's like me saying, I'm going to open a burger place. It's going to be just like Five Guys. Listen, there's 2,000 Five Guys restaurants out there. There's a point of reference. I had no point of reference or anything. So I'm getting turned down left, right, and center. It got to a point where I told the broker, I said, listen, from now on, I want to explain it. Let them at least hear the passion in my voice about this. Let them look me in the eye and see the fire that I have for this concept. I
Yeah.
said, I can win them over. Listen, I'm a people guy. I'm a salesman. I can do it. So eventually we got the spot. So at that time, I had I didn't raise any money. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Will, everything happens for a reason. I am a
Mhm.
staunch believer in that. And
Yeah.
Tiffin Box was not meant to open until 2019. It was not meant to even come close until, I met my wife 2015. We got married 2016. So once she came into the picture, she completed I don't want to use the old Jerry Maguire, you complete me, but yes, she made everything kind of come together. So I was ready to take that leap. And I came home. My wife's Claudia, by the way. So I came home to Claudia and I said, hey, listen, I think we found the spot, but I haven't raised the funds. And she was like, can we do it a couple other ways? I'm like, well, we can do it a couple other ways, but we're going to leverage. So the one thing I always said was, listen, we're never going to leverage the house, but we can do it other ways. We can, max some credit cards out and this, that, whatever. And we did it. It was tough, but yeah, we made it happen. And then we got that store up. So we're opening the store. This is great. It's October. Lo and behold, comes
Yeah.
and the floor is like pulled out underneath my feet. It was crazy. I'll be honest with you. I have literally blocked almost that whole year from March to December out of my mind. There's no value to it to me. We were able to, hold on tight by the skin of our teeth and, kept the business open. It was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. Anybody, it was more of a struggle for me because we were a brand new concept. Not only were we a brand new restaurant, we were a brand new concept blazing a trail. And we had a lot of momentum on our side right before March. We had a wonderful article coming out in the newspaper. We had some good traction, and then that happened. So we held that off. There was an opportunity in between all that. They were opening a food hall, and one day the guys who were talent searching for the food hall stumbled upon us, came in and gave me their pitch. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Fast forward 6 months later, 8 months later, we opened up a location at the food hall. The silver lining from that was I was able to streamline the business more to what we're doing today from that. So that's what I learned from that moment. But unfortunately, the food hall itself just was a failure. The whole concept closed within about, let's say, 18 to 24 months. So I saw the writing on the wall pretty early. So we were only there for about 7-8 months or so. And I could see it. And I was like, I want to concentrate on my location and I want to grow my concept. And this thing it wasn't worth us putting being part of it. So luckily there wasn't a huge investment or anything like that. So we were able to, I was able to walk from there pretty quick. That wasn't a lot of money put out. And at the start, look, when it first opened, it did very well. Like the whole food hall itself was doing fantastic. But the operators just, they just weren't interested in really promoting it. So we were the second concept to jump ship, and then, about 12 months later, whatever, the whole place was closed.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I felt good that, like, again, everything's all meant to be, right? So we ended up learning some stuff about and improving the concept from that experience. And luckily, it didn't really cost a lot of money to get out of it and stuff like that.
So you're okay. So when did you open in Tallahassee?
August 9th.
Wait, August 9th. Oh, you just opened in Tallahassee. Okay.
Yeah, I'm barely under 90 days.
I got you. Okay. So you're open in Tallahassee. You closed the one in South Florida, right? Because
I closed in May of 24. I closed West Palm.
Okay. And you moved up to Jacksonville. You got Tallahassee.
Yep.
Open. And then you're there in
so Gainesville is going to open late December, probably. We're having a little bit of construction delay. But
how far is that from Jacksonville? That's closer than Tallahassee. Tallahassee's a good little way.
On a side note, I've put about 24,000 miles on my car in the last 9 months. back and forth. So from where we live, it's just over 3 hours to Tallahassee, and then it's just under 2 hours to Gainesville. The
Oh,
problem is it's not one stretch. So I'm
yeah,
here, I can go to Tallahassee or I can go to Gainesville,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So yeah, and again, like listen, I like to be a straight shooting guy and lay my cards on the table. If I've stepped in it, I have no problem falling on the sword and saying, "Hey, we have this up."
yeah,
So one of my what okay, so one of my main mantra to my staff and managers is this: let's never give the guest a reason to complain. Meaning, if we purchase our food correctly, we make the food to spec recipes, we keep the facility immaculate, we give great service, we charge a fair price, and we're always giving samples. If we do those 6 things, there is no reason whatsoever we will ever get a complaint. And touch wood, we have a incredible record on what kind of reviews we get and all this kind of stuff and whatever else. And I'm very proud of that because when I get like, if a 3-star review comes in or something, I take it to heart. I really do.
yeah. I
And
bet you do. Yeah,
and here's the thing, like I've worked at restaurants where, like where the belief is the customer is always right. 100%, I disagree with that. They're not always right. It's okay to question something. It's okay to stick to your integrity of the business and stuff like that. Um, you know, but here's the thing: is that I've worked at restaurants where when a bad review comes in, I've seen it where all they're doing is they're dissecting the review to critique the reviewer to prove that the reviewer is wrong and they are right. Oh no, they're just making excuses. Like, listen. So my philosophy is, if we got a 3-star review, there's a very very strong possibility we dropped the ball.
yeah,
Like, so if someone comes in and they say, "Hey, listen, I walked in and there was a couple of tables that were dirty and stuff like that," or um, the service wasn't stellar, or uh, we were out of a particular product or something like that. Well, if you go back to my core beliefs of let's never give the guest a reason to complain, we 100% gave the guest a reason to complain. And you know
right.
what? Thank you for bringing that to our attention, because the
Yeah,
person who and this is the thing that, especially young managers and people new to the restaurant business, they really have a hard time understanding. If one person complained about something, that means there was 10 or 15 other people that they're not saying anything. They're just never coming back. Like,
right, right, right.
listen, you got to be able to look yourself in the eye and say, listen, we dropped the ball. So, I personally, handle every customer comment, good or bad. I'm always, as soon as it goes up, people are shocked because it'll ping to my phone and I'm right away. I want to address it. And if there's a problem, I'm going to take care of it immediately. So I'm very much like you, and it's so funny how you have your cell phone number online, all that kind of stuff. I'm the same way. Whenever I respond to something or whatever, I'll tell someone, I'll say, please, if there's any problem whatsoever, reach out to me directly, and I'll put my cell phone number, and I'll do it on a Google or a Yelp review. I'm not doing it on like a private DM with someone. So if you're reading that review, you'll see my response, and my response, you'll be like, man, the owner just put his phone number right there on the review. Like, I'm not hiding from anybody or anything. I always tell the staff, I'm like, if anybody ever calls for me and I'm not here, give them my cell phone number. I go, it's fine. It's quicker for me to just deal with it if someone just calls me. So I always take it to heart if there's any issue with the business and stuff like that, because I I think, and if you think of this for yourself when you're out with your family and stuff, going out for meals, I feel people go out for 3 reasons in this order: service, food, price.
Mm.
Nobody cares how much it is as long as the service is great, The food can even be okay to great. You'll get by fine. The second there's bad service, all of a sudden now you're going, wait a second, we paid how much for that drink? Or, they charge us how? But if you get immaculate service, they'll even be forgiving on the food. But the service is and it doesn't matter whether it's a food truck or it's a fine dining. It's the exact same thing. It's service.
Services. I mean, I would equate that to, I agree with that, dude. I would equate that to what we're doing here. I mean, it's our customer service comes over everything. It's the service and then
legendary customer service.
Yeah, and then it's the price. Like, I mean, it's actually the exact same order. We get people all the time that are like, I mean, we just had a guy that texted me one night at 9:45, and I respond. He's like, "I know it's late. I'm sorry to text you this late. It was on my mind. Just, I hope you see this tomorrow." And I responded right then. And he was like, "Dude, this is why we're a customer for life.
Yes.
Nobody, no bells and whistles from another product are ever going to win us over because of that right there, dude. It is. And here's the thing, Anesh, you get it. I get it. The challenging, well, okay, it's kind of like you said earlier. It's both it's a opportunity and it's just a bad thing, which is if you provide that kind of service, the opportunity is the bar is so freaking low that it just blows people away. Like it really blows people away. Bar and not I mean like in every industry, like we're used to bad service now, just kind of like generally speaking in our culture.
Yeah.
The problem is, gosh darn, like we're so used to bad service. It's like you wish everybody would elevate it, but it does give you a really unique opportunity, I believe very much so in any business. If you really lay into it's simple stuff, right? Like the kind of stuff that you and I were raised on, like look people in the eye, be honest with them, be intentional, be present, let them know they matter. Like you just validate. Everybody just wants validation, like that I matter. And if it doesn't take much, that little extra, 2 seconds of eye contact or being clearly focused on that person and not all the stuff that's going on around. All these things are just like they're not hard. I mean, they're not hard in principle. They are hard, unfortunately, because of all the distractions we have around us, and the younger generation has grown up not really even able to communicate like eye to eye in person, and you have to deal with all that stuff. But if you can figure it out, if you can find the right people and you can deliver on that, I agree, man. Makes a massive difference.
Yeah, when I was in the full service, industry, and there would be a customer complaint, so that the server would come along and go, "Hey, listen, you got to go see table 25. They're really upset. Their food's been recooked twice, whatever it may be." And I would ask them, I'd say, "Okay, who is it at the table?" It's the gentleman. I said, "Okay, great." So as I'm walking to the table, right? So two things are happening. One, the customer at the table is sitting there going, when that manager gets here, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. If I have to go back there and explain to the cook how to cook my food, that's what they're thinking. And at the same time, I'm walking to the table, looking at that guy with a big smile on my face, right?
Yes,
so then the guy's thinking, what the hell is this guy coming over with a smile? Because he's thinking he's going to chew my face off. And I'd walk over going, "Hey, how you guys doing? I understand we have messed up. Let's not get into the details. I don't want to ruin your meal. How are we going to solve this? What do we need to do to make this right?" Because I walk over there with a bucket of water and throw it right on the fire and just go, let's move on, man. Come on. It's your kid didn't get hit outside with a car. It's okay. We messed up your food. Okay. Let's put it in perspective. I don't want to bugger up your day. And sometimes, if someone's upset, I really want to win them over. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to replace this meal. And on top of that, here, I'll give my card. I go, next meal's on me as well.
There you go.
And they're thinking, whoa, wait a second. I do find this, speaking of customer service, is that some of your best customers are a result of a bad moment. Meaning, there was a poor customer experience. The customer was really upset. It wasn't handled right. They're walking out. They're in the parking lot going to their car. I hear about it last second. Now, this isn't at Tiffin Box. This is like in a previous life at a full service restaurant. And I'll run out to that person. I'm like, hey, I just want to apologize or whatever. They're in their car or whatever. And I'm giving them my card. I'm like going, listen, the next time you come, it's on me. We're going to make this right. Okay. All I'm asking for is just give us another shot. Well, those people see, the passion that I have for the business, even though it's not my restaurant, it's not my business. I'm just, I'm a manager or GM or, whatever. And it's like subconsciously they feel obligated to support you. You know what I mean? Like the next time they come in, they'll be telling their friends, the manager Anesh was there, and I'll tell you, he came out to our car, and ever since then, every time we go in, we've had great service. And so I really find like some of your best customers are a result of a bad moment. Maybe like in Tiffin Box, maybe we messed up their takeout, and they called back to tell us, hey, the food wasn't right or whatever. And I'm like, okay, how far away? Where do you live? And they'll be like, oh, I'm 5 minutes away. I'm like, great. I'll tell you what. I know you ordered 3 items and we messed up 1. I'm going to remake your whole entire order and I'm going to deliver it there. I'll be there in like 15 minutes, and they'll be like, I'm coming. I'm going to deliver your food. I have no problem with it. But that impression, that extra mile, it's priceless. That's a massive opportunity. When there's a bad moment, it's not a bad moment. It's a great opportunity to win someone over, and you will win them. You will win their loyalty if it's handled right, because they're going to, it's a story to tell. Everyone likes like bad news sells, right? And if it's bad news with a silver lining ending, look, that's the basis of almost every Disney movie. Disney movies are exactly the same. It starts off all great, then there's tragedy, then the loner leaves, makes friends, comes back for redemption, and it's a happy ending.
Dude,
That's how it works.
It is not just the Disney stories. That is literally, I'm obsessed with storytelling. And the best definition I've ever heard, um, it's a book by Donald Miller called A Million Miles in 1,000 Years. And he was in this film class, and they said that a story is a character who wants something and has to overcome an obstacle to get it. And that's think of every great story. Every great story. And so, all right, some of these listeners that have been listening to me a while are going to go like, oh, here goes Will again with his Jocko thing. But do you know who Jocko Willink is?
No.
Okay. You got something to write with?
Yeah, go.
Write this down. All right, write down Jocko, Jocko, Willink is his last name. And then word good, all caps. All right. Jocko Willink, good. When we get done, go to YouTube. I will contend that this is the best 3 minutes on YouTube.
All right.
Type in Jocko Willink, good. He's a former Navy SEAL commander, and he has a great podcast about leadership and all. I mean, it's phenomenal. But Jocko, and when you imagine, like if you imagine in your head right now, what does a Navy SEAL named Jocko look like? And you have this like caricature of like this jar, like literally he looks like that. I mean, this is freaking hilarious. He looks like a cartoon character come to life. Right. He's an incredible dude. But he has this, there's a clip on YouTube. You'll see it's easy. It's been viewed like 12, 15 million times, whatever it is. I watch it, I mean, almost once a week, to be honest with you. It will reframe your brain anytime. And if you watch it, you'll probably share it with your staff. That's why I'm telling you this.
Yeah, I like it already.
It's about taking every time there's a problem, auto responding good, because it reframes your mind into, okay, how can we turn this into a good thing? What is this, as you said, I mean, you just said it. So I'm just reiterating what you just said and giving you more context for that. It's like, every bad situation does have a silver lining if you're willing to look at it that way.
Yeah.
And it's so freaking powerful. Anyway, so check it out. You gotta watch it. You'll love
Jocko Willink. I'll check it out.
Yep. Yeah. All right, man. So here's the deal. You and I are going to have to do another one of these because I have to go and I have to get in the car and head out, and I'm on a short time frame here. But man, I could talk to you. I mean, I don't need to,
Listen,
or I could talk to you for another hour so easily. And so here's the thing.
yeah,
I come down every year in January. I go down to we have like a guys trip down in Orlando with a buddy of mine that lives down there, and one of my buddies here in Charlotte and I, we always stop in Jacksonville. That's why when I've said like I've been to Taco Lou and
yeah.
Poe's and Al's, we stay in this little hotel there on like the strip there in Jax Beach. So what we got to do is like I got to get my dates figured out and just come down there and we'll do an in-person episode, which is literally what I'm
Oh,
leading
that'd be
to
awesome.
right now. There's a great episode that you may want to listen to. George McLaughlin and his business partner Amanda at Vicious Biscuit is it is a great episode of this podcast. It's from September 5th, 2024, and so just over a year ago. They're down in Charleston. That's where I'm heading, and I'm taking my. I've got like podcast recorder and mics. I'm going down there to do a second episode with them in person, but they've really taken a great concept, baked it out, and now they're franchising and grow. So it's a really good one to listen to. And then I'll
Yeah.
be putting, this next one up soon too. The other thing I'll say is check out Franzy, Franzy. Um, as you start going through the franchise process and get your FDD, all that kind of stuff, Franzy is a great business that marries franchise brands and who they are and what they do and what their values are with potential franchisees. And so
Yeah.
it's sort of like, I don't know, cuts out the middleman or what. It's like Zillow for franchises, but they're really, really, really good at it. They happen to be here in Charlotte. I know Alex. In
Yeah.
fact, I've actually recorded an episode with him that I've not yet posted. I got a stack of episodes to post, but I'll put it up. You can hear it, and if you want to connect with Alex, just let me know because he's a great dude. So,
Yeah.
all right, man. Well, we'll wrap. First of all, how can everybody find you? What's your website?
So we're tiffinboxeats.com. And then we're on
TIFFIN.
all social platforms. Same. So we're active on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
TIFFIN.
TIFFINBOXEATS.com.
All right. And then one thing, I've been doing some of this recently, and I kind of like it.
Mhm.
If you had, let's pretend right now that like tons of customers of Tiffin Box were watching this,
Yeah.
right? What would you say to them?
So these are potential customers, or
Now, these are your
these
customers.
are
They're
fans
hearing you.
of the service.
Imagine you got an audience of them out in front of you right now, and you have an opportunity to say what you want to say, to thank them, whatever you want to say to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, listen, first off, I would genuinely, show how grateful I am, for the support for the business. The business means everything. And we are nothing without our guests. So them experiencing Tiffin Box and being able to replay that experience to their friends and family is really what we're hoping that is going to grow, for us and have that experience. It's the one thing which we can get into another time. It's cracking the code, and
Yeah.
that's what I literally, I'm living and breathing 24/7 of how to crack the code, and to get it, because when you come into the restaurant and when you have a Tiffin Box experience from, when you walk in, you're going to get the aroma of the food. You hear classic rock music. It's bright, vibrant decor. You're going to get to sample the food. You're going to enjoy. You're going to see it getting built. You're going to be excited. Putting that into a social clip or a video or something like that. I haven't been able to crack that code, but when you leave, you'll be thinking, oh my God, I can't wait to come back for various reasons, and service and food and value and rewards and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, listen, I would hope that, all these people, thank you for being fans of ours. We want to grow the business. We want to have more locations. We want to serve you, And that really means the most to us at the end of the day.
Love it, man. Love it. The passion and genuine, authentic love for your business and what you do is so palpable, Anesh. So
Thank you.
um, it really is, man. It really is. That's why I wanted you to do that. I mean, it really comes out so significantly. So well, I'll get we'll follow up. Let's stay in touch, and then we'll get if you ever want to reconnect with Marwan, I know him well. Happy to make that connection. I'll send him this episode and tell him you and I talked and you're a fan of him. This is Marwan Irani, folks from Chai Pani that Anesh and I were talking about before we started recording. The last thing I'll say is Anesh, go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Give this podcast a 5-star rating. All of you listening, give us a 5-star rating. The more ratings we get, the more the algorithm pushes us out. We are a top 5 restaurant owner podcast now. We'd love to, we're stoked about that. We'd love to keep inching up. So hook us up with a rating. Thank you all for listening. More episodes coming soon. See ya.